Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am here with Dirk Terpstra. He is putting on an event coming up soon in Kamloops, the Power of the Heart movie. And he is involved with HeartMath and many things to do with how your heart and the coherence of your heart can affect your life itself. So I am so honored and so thrilled to be able to speak with you today, Dirk, and to share with our audience the amazing things that you have going on. So welcome.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. It's such an honor. I'm so pleased that you take some time to speak with me, and it's really beautiful the work that you do, and I'm very happy to share also what I do with your audience.
Oh, thank you. So I'd love to know a little bit more about you. So we know that you're doing a HeartMath and the Power of the Heart movie. Let's give a quick synopsis of your background and how you got to be so passionate about the power of the heart.
You got a minute?
I do. Take your time.
Well, maybe as you can hear from my accent, I'm Dutch. I was born in the Netherlands, and I emigrated about 15 years ago. I used to work in the corporate business, what a lot of people don't like, and a lot of often negative feedback is about corporate businesses. But I worked for American Express. I was their general manager in Europe, which was actually a cool job, but I just couldn't find any fulfillment out of the job. So it's very tempting then to stay and to enjoy, the career that you're going through. But I had the feeling that I had some deeper calling, and at some point I made a decision. So I quit my job. I talked to my boss, and I left the company together with the two little boys and my wife, and we actually emigrated to Vernon, which was a big change for me, of course, because working and almost living in Amsterdam and then going to Vernon was a big change. But I would do it again tomorrow. So it's the best. There were a couple of events that really severely impacted my life. I lost some of my dear family members, like my dad, my brother, my mom, my best friend, in a very short time frame. And I think that cracked me open a little bit. And I dared to be more myself and show more of my emotions and truly express the passion that I live for. And that is basically connecting and inspiring also other people. And I started interviewing people that I so admired, that were like authors, scientists, spiritual teachers, or gurus, if you like. And how cool is it, if you, for example, love the work of Don Miguel Ruiz, he's the famous author of the Four Agreements, and you just get to spend, 2 hours with him and just ask whatever you want to ask. And so I started building a platform. It's called soullove.com, and that's where I started sharing all the interviews. Then there's another magazine called Om Times magazine, and they really liked what I was doing. So they asked if they could publish my interviews. So I've done mainly like cover interviews, front cover interviews, and I still do that. I still do that work. And one day I was talking with Greg Braden, and I really love his work, and he is also very deeply connected with HeartMath. And then I thought, it's so cool, what he does. He bridges the science and the spirituality. I thought, I want to be part of that. And then within, I think, a month or so, I was speaking to Howard Martin. He is the executive vice president with HeartMath. And I thought, I just have to get on that train. So that's actually, it went really fast from there. I got my trainings and everything. And I also support them a bit in their marketing efforts, so a bit more on a strategic level. So we have some connections going there. And that's how I started becoming a trainer and share all that I know just from my personal insights and a bit of my own wisdom with the HeartMath tools and techniques. That's how I build events, how I create events. I do one-on-one coaching. And actually, since recently, it's maybe interesting to know, there is a clinic in Vernon, and it's they work with war vets who suffer from severe PTSD, and the HeartMath is a part of that, very important part of that. So I work in cycles of 4 weeks every morning, and I'll be there for the people to help change their physiology and how they can change basically their lives and overcome most of the PTSD. So yeah.
You've had an amazing journey to get where you are in Vernon, British Columbia, all the way from where you were in the corporate world. You mentioned HeartMath, and I learned about HeartMath quite a long time ago and really connected with it. But for a lot of our viewers who don't know what that means, you hear two words, heart and math, and we don't usually put those together. I know growing up, I didn't like math at all.
No,
but
me neither.
there is a science to it. So can you explain what HeartMath is to us?
It's basically, if you want to say it in very simple words, it's about learning about the intelligence of the heart. I didn't put the name together. Of course, they have. When we think of the heart, we think of something more soft. We think of love. We think of some squishy feeling, whatever it is, and then we bring in the math, so the science of the heart. And that's basically the idea behind the name. It's an institute, a not-for-profit institute based in Boulder Creek, Northern California, and they've been doing research for over the last more than 20 years about the intelligence of the heart. And that the heart is not just a blood pump, but that it's basically the seat of our soul. And it's really beautiful to see when the heart starts beating, which of course starts already before we're born. There is an electrical impulse with every single beat. And with an electrical impulse, and that's pure like physics, there is an electromagnetic field also being created. And that electromagnetic field is very powerful. So that not just sits around our heart, but it even penetrates our skin. And we can measure that like around 3 feet around our body. So when we interact with a person and we are not very coherent, so to speak, and I can explain that word later, we have an impact. Just even not when we don't say anything, even when our expression is kind of positive or it's kind of friendly, but we have not a very coherent heart rhythm, we impact the other people around us. So through changing our emotions, through changing our breathing, and changing our focus on our heart, we can actually change the rhythm of our hearts. And then the heart starts communicating in a very effective way with our brains and with our autonomic nervous system. So then you're basically in sync and you function at an optimal level. And that's also where you can make proper decisions. That's where you can truly express love with other people and all that.
It's true what you say about proper decisions. When I'm feeling calm and feeling centered in my heart, then when my decisions are clear and definitely from a place of love, and it must be that word that you spoke of, coherence. When I'm feeling off, things aren't going right or decisions aren't correct. So I'd love to know a little bit more about coherence. I love that word.
Me too. And intuitively we know that, we know when we're off and we make a decision that we could maybe make just a wrong decision based on our egos or whatever is going on in our heads. And that can be tricky, but now to offer yourself the ability to make that shift, that is actually pretty powerful. In our training, you see a couple of rowers in a boat, you see them rowing together, and when they are coherent, when they all are going at the same pace, that's where you are, the most efficient in the way you cooperate together. But it also happens in our body, different systems in our body, when they cooperate in a proper level, then we function optimally. I also like in trainings that I do, there's on YouTube, there is a little short video about the metronomes, the metronomes that, guide you through a certain rhythm for music. And you see like 70 metronomes on the table, and they all give them a little whack, and they all go, all over the place. And within 4 minutes, they all go the same pattern. They adjust automatically, and that's basically what coherence is. And so when we are getting out of our own way, because we are often in our own way with our minds and all the thoughts that we have, then our body starts adjusting, in an optimal level. But we can also help our body a bit more. So
we can help our body using the HeartMath techniques. Are there specific techniques or technologies that are used?
Yeah, I just was about to say is that when you start breathing a little deeper, so if you notice the breathing that we do now, you just see barely moving your chest rise and fall. It's just very little, it's very limited. We just breathe just to get by, so to speak. But when we take a deeper breath, and then we train, people to take breath in like 5 seconds, real slow, and then let go for 5 seconds, really slow. You feel this really slow pace starting up, that is when you affect your nervous system. So the nervous system has two parts, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic part. You just can compare it, like the parasympathetic part is like the brake on a car, and the sympathetic part is the gas pedal. And so most of the time, our sympathetic branch of the nervous system is highly active, you know, through all the busy stuff that we do, our work and all of our interactions with people, and we become sometimes really anxious or stressed. But when we start breathing deeper, then we turn on the parasympathetic branch of our nervous system, and it brings everything more to rest. And then, you know, our nervous system starts communicating through our hearts with our brains in a different way. And that's what you said, you know, you feel more able to make just more proper decisions and smarter decisions. That's literally what's happening. So there is a more beautiful signal around the heart, which you do through the focus on the heart also, and the breathing. And that moves, you know, that gives a different signal up to the brain. Like, hey, you know, everything is okay. The heart tells the brain, it says, you know, you can communicate in the most optimal level. And all the different compartments of the brain, they start communicating at an optimal level. And that's when you can start making really proper decisions. Especially when you're stressed, certain parts of your brain just get shut down a little bit, and then you start making decisions just actually what you don't want according to your heart, but you don't have the capacity. You know, we all know that, like, I shouldn't have said that, you know, it's so stupid, you know, I should have paused for a while and then, you know, I should have given a reply. Well, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, that's excellent. I think that the people who are watching this right now could pause and just take those deep, soft breaths. That's something they can use right now. And it's connecting. I was doing it just now as you were speaking, and it's, stress is rolling off my shoulders. I feel better already. And we know this. A lot of our viewers are yoga practitioners or relaxation they've taken, but to have the science behind it and what you're talking about is a really good reminder.
Yes, I do realize that a lot of your audience is also people are familiar with yoga, or even, you know, yoga teachers. Yoga comes, by the way, very close to the HeartMath tools and techniques. But if you're interested, we can do the 3 steps, and then you can also see the difference between, let's say, an average breathing technique with yoga, for example, or what we do with HeartMath. So if you just become still and you just relax your body, you relax your shoulders, you relax the muscles in your neck, in your jaw, even that little muscle between your eyes, and you just start breathing deeper than you would normally do, and really slow in and then out, like 4 or 5 seconds in and out. You find that pace. And while you do the breathing, you feel the air like it's going through your heart. Just feel the air going in and out through your heart. Don't think of your heart. Just acknowledge the thought and then bring yourself back to the breathing. And like the 4 or 5 seconds in and 4 or 5 seconds out, that's the optimal performance for HeartMath. And while now you feel the air going through your heart, just feel a sensation of appreciation or care or love for someone or some situation. Just feel it in your heart while you do the breathing. And if we were able to measure you now, because that's what we do with HeartMath, we start measuring the rhythm of your heart while you do this technique, you'll see that your heart goes from like a chaotic signal to a very beautiful rhythmic sine wave signal. You can see it right away. And that's so cool about the system, that it gives you feedback about your own heart. You can even sit on the couch and you think you're relaxed, but your heart rhythm could be very chaotic. So it can be people who are depressed or are anxious, and they sit on the couch and their heart rhythm could be, or their heart rate could be low, but they still are very incoherent. So some people think that when they are relaxed, that it's also a very coherent signal, but that's not true per se. And that's
the beat of your heart is different than this rhythm of your heart that you're speaking about.
Yes, the rhythm of your heart, indeed, that's very, very important. And because the heart communicates with the brain, and the information that goes up to the heart is 5,000 times stronger than that goes back from the brain to the heart. A lot of people think that, you know, the brain is where the action is. It's actually the heart, that's where the action is. But, you know, you and I, you know, when we're at elementary school or high school and you come home with a report card and you have all straight A's, your parents say, hey, cool, Elizabeth, you know, really cool. Here you have a toonie or so because your report card looks so great. We've always been, you know, encouraged to use our intellect, and we've always been trained to do that. And now we go through life and there is some kind of emotional challenge. We have a really hard time resolving that, of course, with our head, and we have to go through our heart. And for a lot of people, that's hard to do because we think of our heart then, but feeling is a different thing. So that's basically also what I teach. And it's not just for people who are severely stressed or people with PTSD or ADD, ADHD. But I also work, for example, now with a few airline pilots who are under high stress levels. They can make decisions that, of course, you know, potentially impact a lot of lives. There was one airline pilot, he says, you know, the weather is really bad. And then I hear from the tower, he approaches, you know, in a big 747, he approaches the airport. And then the traffic control tower says, well, it's really, really busy. You know, you really, you have a very small time slot and you have to make it or you have to go around. So he feels more pressure. And then what he used to do is making, you know, smart decisions. But now he's getting a little older. He gets a bit more tired. Your body gets, you know, a little bit less flexible. And that's when people sometimes start making poor decisions based on the stress. And well, for everybody that's important, especially like for an airline pilot, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that technique, and especially what you mentioned about don't think about it. I think people are really searching for answers in our healing, and we're thinking about it too much in our search for answers and our search for healing. And this technique is just this soft, beautiful way in.
It is, and you use the word soft, and I often tell people, say, just feel your heart soften. Just feel it. You know, you feel the boundaries between what's going outside and inside. You feel them disappear, and you feel become one with the environment, and that's when you soften. And that's when your heart also, you see that beautiful rhythm coming up. And when I do my trainings or my workshops, people are often amazed, and I ask somebody, you know, as a volunteer, and I say, are you willing to do this with me? And on the big screen, people see when doing these exercises, they see change their heart rhythm so quickly that they're just blown away by just seeing that from your own heart. It's very powerful.
And how is that seen? I think that's really interesting that you can actually put it up on a screen or hook it up. How does that get recorded and viewed?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, we have like an infrared sensor, and you can clip it on your earlobe. That's the easiest. And when your heart beats, it sends a pulsation. Your blood is, you know, is being sent through the arteries and veins, and it measures the pulsation in very fine measurements. And then it sends the information through intelligent software, and then it shows the difference between the high heart rate and the low heart rate. And that's very important because that's called the variability, the heart rate variability. And with people, if you're very stressed, you have very little heart rate variability, which means that you have very low resilience, like emotionally, but also physically. So the heart rate variability is very important for people. And you can see that as a line on the screen, and you can just follow that. And by doing that, you see the line change. And when you suddenly get in a thought, which you were just talking about, not thinking of your heart, the line becomes very incoherent. You see that. It's just a ragged line. And then when you start truly feeling again, the line starts adjusting, and you see that smoothing out. And that is very, very cool. Yeah, it's beautiful to see for people, and especially people who are little.
Our minds need to see some evidence or proof, and then let us just get into feeling.
Well, I notice, especially as a guy, and I see a lot of guys who say, well, you know, it's all nice, all the breathing and stuff, and I like it, it feels great, but I'm not sure, you know, what the impact is exactly. And especially for those people who are a little bit on the fence, you can say, well, you know, look at the science. You know, I'll explain more to you what's happening inside of your body and how you could change your own physiology. And you see it on the screen, the feedback of your own heart. that is where a lot of people say, okay, you know, now I get it. So I think for many people, it's really important to acknowledge that. But the yogic breathing comes very close. We've seen it in research. Comes very close to the HeartMath breathing because you're now in tune with your body. You start breathing deeper. It's very similar. It's the same as chanting. Chanting, you know, if you do that, it's very, very good for your coherency, your heart.
Very nice. So you have some events coming up that people can actually connect with you at, and in particular, one we're going to talk about is one that's coming up in Kamloops. But if there's other ones coming up throughout BC Interior, let us know about those too.
Yeah, I will. So on December the 1st, one is coming up in Vernon. That's a HeartMath workshop. And if people are interested and willing to come over, you're more than welcome. All the information is on the website, chooseheart.com. It's an evening workshop from 6:30 to 9. And it's incredible what you'll learn, you know, in those 2.5 hours. So it's really beautiful. And then on the December the 4th, that's a Sunday afternoon, we'll be in the Let's Move yoga studio. And we'll be showing the film, The Power of the Heart. And the film, The Power of the Heart, is actually very special to me. It's very close to my heart because my friend, Baptiste Paap, is the maker of the film. And I'll be showing the film all over because what I really like, it's all about forgiveness. It's about connecting with your heart. HeartMath is being introduced there as well. Maya Angelou, actually not so long before she passed on, she was, you know, being recorded in the film. And so was Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, and, you know, a lot of famous teachers. And it's a beautiful film. And what I often see is that it cracks people open, like emotionally, and say, you know, it really softens you, to use that word again. And then after the film, I do a very short introduction of like half an hour on how HeartMath works, and people can see it for themselves. And if they then truly become interested, they can sign up for a workshop. And I hope I can do a workshop in Kamloops one day, if there is enough interest, because I'm very passionate about sharing that.
I find that the films are wonderful ways to, like you said, crack open or break out of an old pattern or let your mind find something new. So these films are wonderful, and this one in particular is a wonderful way to dive into your heart and your own feelings, and also to come together. You're also with other people who are learning, so it's just a wonderful atmosphere.
Yeah, it's beautiful to be together and to share a little bit about the film afterwards, and it's always good to be in a good community. A little noisy. I'm out here on the streets in Miami, so sometimes get a little noisy.
Vacation right now.
So yeah, it's really beautiful to have as a community come together, and what you say, like a film, touches us. You know, it's the same like music. I'm currently recording several heart-focused meditations for HeartMath. I create a playlist where it can be specifically about relationships, or it can be about self-love. It can be when somebody goes through a difficulty in his or her life. I think music, meditation, movies, it touches us deeply, because it's so easy for us to try to understand with our mind what we talked about. But when we sit and relax and we watch a movie, it literally, is being received by our heart. And that's basically where we change, where we truly change. Yeah.
It's true, and it's going to be a wonderful introduction. How much are the tickets, and how can people get them?
Well, that's a good question. People can get the tickets online. They just can click on the button for purchase. You can just safely purchase online through PayPal or with your credit card. And the tickets are, I believe, I'm not sure by heart, but I think they're $15 per person. A little bit goes back to the maker of the film, and that's what we always do. And it's just a beautiful way of sharing an evening and learning more also about the HeartMath and about the other activities that I do. It's just a passion of mine that I like to share, and the more people are showing up, the more beautiful the evening will be.
Well, that sounds great. I'm going to make sure that we put all the links to your website and to get the tickets right below this video and in the email and post that we do, so that people can find out where to get the tickets and grab those. And a wonderful way to spend part of their Sunday is to come and join and see what you have going on, but also see what they have going on inside. So.
Yes, yes. And if you're interested to learn more about the interviews that I do, people can always go to soullove.com. One of the main characters in the film, The Power of the Heart, is Mark Nepo. And Mark Nepo is a beautiful teacher and author. And I had a recent interview with him, and also you can watch that on soullove.com. So for people who are interested in, or maybe at other interviews, it's really a neat place to go.
Absolutely, it sounds wonderful. I'll put that link below as well. So what's something we can leave our audience with that you would suggest, something that people can do right now to help get more coherent in their heart?
It's a very good question. What I find, what I see a lot, especially in the spiritual realm, so to speak, is that a lot of people are searching. A lot of people are sensitive and they search for something, for more meaning in their lives. If you know that we are all deeply connected, you know, I see that all the time. It's all about oneness, we're deeply connected and so on. It means that whatever lives in your, you know, your most beautiful guru that you look up to and you want to learn from, that same intelligence and that same wisdom then also has to live in you. So you don't have to search outside per se, you know, to start finding more answers. And I find just a moment to spend in nature, to become still and to focus on your breathing and to truly tap into the wisdom that lies into you and in my body, and just feel what's going on. And some answers might come up. They might come up as a picture, they might come up as a path or just as a word. But I would suggest people to stop searching outside and just tap into your own wisdom, because it's all there. For us. And it's also something that I explain in the workshops, is that the electromagnetic field that is part of us. But of course we know there's also a larger electromagnetic field around the earth, you know, the North and the South Pole, and we're tapping into that field all the time without knowing that we really do that. And when we look in the morning in the spring and we see this flower opening up, you know, like under the sunlight, and we think, wow, that's so perfect. Well, that same force that keeps the flower, you know, opening up in the morning, that's the same force that keeps your heart beating, that keeps my heart beating. And often we see the beauty and the perfection in that flower, and then we, for some reason, discount the perfection in ourselves. But we are part of that same field, that same intelligence. And if you can remember that, then you don't have to go out on a search and just spend some more time in silence. And for me, that's preferably nature, but it can be anywhere.
Thank you so much for that reminder. That is wonderful for me to hear, and also I'm sure many of our listeners will appreciate hearing that right now. I'm so thrilled that I got a chance to chat with you today and to share.
Likewise.
I feel like we could talk for hours about what you have to offer, and I would love to learn from you at some point. And our viewers, I'm sure, would love to take in more from you. So if you want to learn more from Dirk, check out his website. The links will be posted below. The interviews that he's done, and the HeartMath workshops that he's doing, and this Power of the Heart movie, I think is going to be absolutely wonderful. So be sure to join in for those things. So, thank you so much, Dirk. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's pleasure is mine. I'm very honored that you take the time and share it with your audience. I love collaborating because, you know, we are all so deeply connected, what I just mentioned. So the more we can cooperate, you know, the more natural it feels. So thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you also. And thank you everyone for watching. I am so glad that you joined me today, and I'll see you next time.